Wow.
Now, Phil, I've been looking forward to this all week as we salute 3UZ from the 50s with Nicky, partnered by Graham Kennedy in a rare recording, because a lot of these from the early 50s would not have been recorded. But first up, just a sample of some of the 3UZ jingles from the golden days of the Greater at 45 Burke Street, Melbourne. 3UZ.
This is John McMahon.
Make way for the fabulous Mr. D.
Hello there. 3UZ's breakfast to go and a beautiful Wednesday coming your way.
Times 30 on your dime.
Here comes Woody.
Lap on 3UZ.
Hi-ho, Victoria. Stanley Manley, winning and chitting and grinning and spitting them in.
The station with the nicest listeners. Jimmy Hannon, Mud, Sparkle, King Spot, John Vertigan.
This is Bert Newton. We've given you the news.
It is my melancholy duty to inform you that in consequence of persistence by Germany in her invasion of Poland, Great Britain has declared war upon her. Australia is also at war.
Here is the news read by Tom Jones.
Here comes the news on the Greater 3UZ.
The flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
This is Clive Waters, news editor, 3UZ.
We are gathered here today to remember before Almighty God the Right Honourable Harold Edward Holt.
Then resign.
The sport.
The Delta's going to win the Melbourne Cup, and the crowd roars as Rising Fast goes on to a beautiful victory. Zymer light fingers, they hit the line, and then 200 metres left to go. R1 takes the lead in the Melbourne Cup.
The Greater 3UZ Sports Scoreboard.
It's Shirley Stickland, Taylor, and Shirley Stickland has gone over to win. And a slow scores a level. 2 minutes gone. I think we could be back here. In fact, I'm sure of it.
And we've given you the music.
Join the swing to the top, and the 930 stop. For the swinging sounds of 3UZ.
Come away with me, Lucille, in my merry old mobile.
Music
Hello, baby.
The Greater 3UZ. Well, that'll be the day.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock.
You ain't no friend of mine. Double golden. Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. And buy me love. The Greater 3UZ. Hip hop. My little scoot. I can't get no sweet Caroline.
The Greater
3UZ. Take it easy.
Now, 3UZ music, first on air in Melbourne, sounds better than ever.
Stereo AM.
60 years of great radio, and the best is yet to come.
927 3UZ.
Here's Roland Strong.
It was the man in the newsagents who first told me about it. He just shook his head from side to side and kept repeating, sad. It's sad, very sad. And then the young fellow in the tobacconists. He said, you never heard anyone saying a bad thing about him. And so it's been going on ever since the tragically sudden news that Nicky was dead. Other radio personalities have died over the years. But somehow, I don't think there's ever been a more widespread or more genuine public reaction of sorrow. Perhaps the fact that it was so sudden, so unexpected, that had something to do with it. But only a little, I think. He was certainly one of the best known of all the personalities on the air. That had something to do with it, too. But even those things don't account for the fact that so many people, humble people and people in high places, the highest places indeed, the poor, the not so poor, and the rich, have felt and expressed such a deep sense of sorrow. It seems to me that there's so much more to it than that. And I think the principal reason was the essential humanity of the man we called Nicky. He was a success, an enormous success. But there were no airs and graces about him. He never found it necessary to put on an act, to make a conscious effort to uphold the position he undoubtedly earned for himself. His attitude to managing directors and to office boys and to all in between was the same: cheerful, good-natured, helpful, and cooperative. His interest was in giving people a laugh or a smile, but never by being hurtful. And when a hard day's work was done, and believe me, he worked deceptively hard, though it all sounded so easy, he was not concerned with being a big shot, but with being a family man. And it was these qualities, which only too rarely go hand in hand with success, and which he was able to convey so well to his tens of thousands of listeners, that, I believe, have led to such a real feeling of loss by so many people. He had great talent, great ability, but it was the simple fact that he was a good bloke which have made him so sadly missed, not only by those who listened to him every day, but by what are possibly any man's severest critics, those who worked with him every day. And the affection in which Nicky was so obviously held by so many people in so many walks of life should surely be an object lesson to those among us who believe that pomposity, self-satisfaction, and the general creation of an impression of great importance are the things that count in this life. For Nicky proved otherwise. Carry on, Melbourne.
The crocodile weeps, ooh, sitting on a pile of stones beside the Nile. Why did the crocodile weep, ooh, every little while in that funny style? Had he a pain in his poor little thumb? No, for he wanted to be a new chum. Being a chum is fun, that is why I'm one. Always smiling, always gay, chummy at work and chummy at play. Laugh away your worries, don't be sad or glum, and everyone will know that you're a chum, chum, chum.
The Chum song that issued in the Nicky and Graham and the Nicky and Nancy Lee and Nicky and Tuppy morning show on 3UZ. And
yes, there was the theme for Chatterbox Corner.
And here on 3AW, when Nicky did breakfast and the children's show, when they'd take the children's show to Luna Park and get 40,000 children with Nicky, Nancy Lee, and Douglas Elliott.
Yes, they were flying axe handles in those days, weren't they?
Yes, they were. So what attracted me as a kid of 8, dialing up and down the dial in the 1950s and finding 3UZ and this remarkable man? Because everyone else had that pomposity that Roland Strong was talking about. Everybody had that fruity voice and everything was national, Dick Fair and Jack Davy. Nobody ad-libbed. Nicky had the ability to ad-lib and make it sound as though he was your favourite uncle or your dad giving you advice. He spoke about the local elements of Melbourne. He spoke about Smith Street and Puckle Street, Moonee Ponds and Chapel Street, Paran. times and also events in Melbourne that you could recognise, and you could almost put a finger on where he'd been.
Yes, and in the air check we're about to hear, virtually all he's doing for 15 minutes is just communicating with his audience and doing commercials with his young partner, Graham Kennedy.
So let's eavesdrop. It's a cool winter's morning, 9:30. Dad's off to work and Mum's at home, probably bending over the bath, bon-amying it. 3UZ's on in the background, and we eavesdrop on Graham and Nicky.
You know, some of the greatest composers in the world today, they started off on some simple musical instrument.
Did they?
Take Mozart. He started off on a shoehorn.
Did he really?
Played a lovely tune on it.
Isn't it amazing what you can get a tune out of?
Yes, Jack O'Hagan, I think he played the one-string fiddle.
Yes.
There's something like the one-string fiddle.
One-string fiddle, yes.
Well, I've got a lovely little bit of agenda here.
Oh, not your bugle.
What's wrong with a bugle?
Oh, it's a filthy-looking thing, Nick.
Maybe in years to come, people will say, my word, old Nico, did he get a wicked tune out of his bugle? Look how polished, I'll show you.
Righto, unwrap it and blow it.
Don't ever say that to me. It sounds like suck it and see with a lemon or something.
We're behind time.
Today, I'm going to play this bugle as I've never played before. I had jelly for breakfast. I'm going to blow it. I'm going to put a true obligato into it, second to none.
Blow it.
Don't keep saying blow it.
Come on.
Say, will you render an audition or something like that?
Look, put it up to your lips, let go a bit of wind, and we'll play it.
All right, well, wait till I get enough wind in me. You're right now.
Yes.
Listen to the obligato.
I'm listening.
F-O-R-D. Banish your unhealthy fat. Reduce safely. Reduce surely with Ford pills. If you're overweight, take Ford pills regularly. Follow the diet chart and slim to new health, new life, new vigor. Get Ford pills for slimming in red and gold plastic tubes, 5 and 6, everywhere.
What about that little bit, I say?
Oh, very tasty, Clifford, very tasty.
Nice. One of these days I'm going to play it right through the ad.
Are you really? Not if I can help it.
And then I've got ambitions one day to get a mouthful of Ford pills, and as I blow, I'll use the thing as a pea shooter, but I'll put a little bit of spin on the pill.
I see.
And with practice, I reckon I could shoot a pill in any direction. All right, Dale?
Yeah.
I reckon it's beautiful. Well, Mum, I don't know what you're doing today, Dale. You still home or not? You're out, are you? If you're out, you can't listen to us. I was just going to suggest that maybe the kids need footwear, and I couldn't suggest a better place to go than Betsy Pryor. You can walk into any shoe store, can't you?
You can?
Walk into any shoe store, and maybe a junior comes and attends you. The kid doesn't know what you want in children's footwear, doesn't know how much to allow for growing Tootsie. Now, Betsy Prime, she's got something hanging on a wall.
She knows all about feet.
There's a diploma
hanging on the wall.
There's a diploma hanging on the wall. But if a diploma
should accidentally fall,
then she'll have no diploma
hanging on the wall.
She went to college. She studied orthopedics.
That's how she got her big diploma.
I know, I've seen it.
It's a beaut.
She hangs it behind the counter. And every time I walk in, she says, Nico, come and see my diploma.
And we have a lovely time, don't we?
Oh, it's real beaut. Somehow I'm saying that if you go along to Betsy, with this diploma, she's in the position to know just how much room to leave for growing little tootsies. And she is the only children's footwear specialist in Melbourne that I know of anyway. That's all she sells. That's all she's got. But she's got a lovely store. Regent Place right alongside the Regent Theatre. Beaut. Well, Gray, look, I've had this. What about a cup of tea? Mrs. Parker would have it on now. A cup of Mrs. P's tea.
You want me to go and get you a cup of tea, Nick?
Would you mind a nice juicy cup?
I'll go and get you a cup of tea.
Ask her a new flavour, you know?
Right.
And if the milk's sour, not to put any of the milk in.
Okay, Nick, well, I'll see you later.
Yeah. Oh, dear, Ads. Ma, how are you today, darling? Are you in the home on your own? Are you? I'm alone. You keeping well? Give us a look at you. Just stand in front of the radio. Let Cliff have a look. My word, you've put on a bit of weight, sweet, haven't you? You know, I was reading only last night in a magazine where the trouble, when you get up in years, the trouble is that the tummy muscles sort of relax. And if they relax, they sort of can't keep your tummy in because they stretch. How many women do you know? Now, you're about the same way yourself, love. The tummy relaxes so much, they finish up with a stomach round the knees. Now, this is a bad show, because men like to see women with the bumps in the right place, right? Now, look, what I'm going to suggest, I'll tell you how you can fix all this. Get up in the front bedroom and stand in front of the mirror and get up a block and tackle, you see? Now, from the tackle, bring it down and hitch it under your drop stomach. Then start pulling the rope, and once you get it in the right position, the tummy's in its right position, get some adhesive tape and put around your stomach like that, right over the front here, and around your shoulder, and down the other side, and keep your stomach in the place where it should be. Then put on your dressing gown, pair of slippers or an overcoat, get a taxi, and whip right into Park Avenue, walk inside and say, what can you do for this? And before you can say Bob's your uncle, they'll set to work, they'll have the best foundation garment that ever you did know. They're experts, you see. Now, some women go to the wrong experts for their foundation garments, people who don't realise what a foundation garment should be. They certainly can't take it off. They pummel it around, and many a woman walks out with a hump on her back, simply because the foundation garment's not right. Now, if you go to Park Avenue, foundation garments...
I'm back.
You got the tea?
You sent me out of the studio deliberately then, so that you could get all intimate with the listeners.
Well, I'm only telling them to go to Park Avenue for a good foundation garment or a good pair of brassiers. Now, what's wrong with a decent pair of brassiers?
Oh, most important. I agree.
If you get a decent pair, they'll last you a lifetime. We know some women who, during the summer, they don't need them. And what do? Cut the centre ribbon, fill each little cup with earth, and grow geraniums in them.
Some even use them as jelly moulds.
Yeah. These brassiers and bras or whatever they are, they'll last for years and years, won't they?
They certainly will, Nick, especially if you get them from Park Avenue.
Yeah. They're in Hoddle House, you know, on the corner of Little Cole and Elizabeth Street, on the first floor. Well, good luck, sir. Oh, I don't like the look of this tea.
It looks putrid, doesn't it?
Oh, she can't make tea, this woman. Good luck.
Good luck.
Dad doing today?
Oh, I think he could stand rewatering, Nick.
You could say that again.
I say I think he could
I heard it the first time. But tiny tips to you, Ma. My father was a cricketer.
Yes.
In the Battle of Waterloo.
What happened?
The wind blew round his off stump.
Oh.
And he didn't know what to do.
Friendliness to everyone and all. You'll find no greater friendliness. Seek where you can. Than the warm and friendly helping hand of your friendly Electrolux man.
Let me solve your house cleaning problems with the wonderful Electrolux vacuum cleaner. We all look forward to meeting housewives.
I'll say that again. Electrolux, you can contact them. Mr. Wilkinson. He's the fella down there that sits on a big chair with his feet on the table, waiting for one only customer.
And his telephone number is MY1851.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Wilkinson yesterday paid one visit to a very satisfied client. He knocked on the door and he said, well, how do you do, madam? She took one look at him and said, another satisfied client. Mr. Wilkinson is the man to ring.
Nick, I thought we might test the velocity of the wind.
Pardon?
I thought we might find out how strong the wind's blowing outside.
I haven't been at all well, you know. I've been sucking peppermints and cloves, but this wind, it's getting me under. When I was a little boy, Mother used to put me across her shoulder, you know, and tap me on the number plate.
Yeah.
That was a good cure. But if you like, I'll open the window.
Oh, fair enough.
I think that's pretty fair.
Let's try, shall we?
It's a beautiful sunny day outside, girls. Lovely. Listen to the sunlight.
Mighty rough cuff you've got there, Joe.
Yeah. Can't seem to throw it off out here in the open. This blizzard sure cuts me down.
Here, try some of my Buckley's. It's mighty powerful stuff. I wouldn't be without a bottle in my saddlebag. A single sip proves Buckley's Canadiol mixture.
Baby, it's cold outside, isn't it?
Certainly is.
Oh, you know, this is the time of the year when if everything's bright inside, you don't care about rains or storms or anything else. I like to see things nicely polished, don't you?
Truly.
We've got lots of good things to polish various things, Ma. We've got Vatric 158. That's a sort of a polish that you use on linos and things like that. Always advisable not to wash your lino because they're porous, aren't they?
That's right.
Mother doing all right?
She's doing very well.
Mm-hmm. Because if you wash your lino, the water seeps into it and can start a lot of rot. And speaking of rot, this is an ad. But if you use Vatric 158, look, just to wipe over with Vatric, it removes grease marks and heel marks and every other sort of mark. Then a dry cloth and wacko the dead, it's beaut. If you want to polish silverware, we've got a product tell them what you did to Grandma's comports.
Oh, yes, my grandmother, she's got two of the beautiful looking comports you've ever seen, and I polished them.
Beautiful big comports. She's the proudest woman about her comports, isn't she?
I'll say she invites everyone in to see them, the mailmen, the icemen, everyone. They all come
Everyone wants to see Grandma's comports.
Because they're polished so
She took them down the street one day.
They're big, you know, for her to carry around with her.
Well, she's putting on weight, you know.
But still, I polished them, and she's very proud of them.
Yeah, and it was eye gleam polishing wool, wasn't it?
Certainly was.
Girls, that's the way to polish silver plate, you know. It's a sort of a bit of wool that you pull out of a container and you pull a little bit off it. You get to work like this. See? You're not watching.
I'm watching.
You were not watching. I was polishing the centre of my palm, and you were not looking at me.
Well, as soon as we get television, I'll start to watch, Nick.
Right. Yes, this eye gleam polishing wool, girl, it's a fine wool that can't possibly scratch, but for silverware, you know, silver plate and stuff, even for chrome work, copper, brass, it will polish anything at all. It's a Nightingale product, and it's called Eye Gleam, and it's a real beauty, too. Listen, I've got an ad here. This is an ad, girls. You know they're all ads. We don't call them ads, friendly advice, and probably, you know, whipping through 5,642 per day. Well, we get a bit tired of them, and we like to present them in new ways. But if you handle every advert in a different sort of a way, well, maybe you'll listen to it. This is a little sort of an advert that whereby it needs a soft little bit of music underneath it.
Have no fear, my friend. I've got us some soft music over here, Nick.
Now, look, I'll tell you how it starts. If you're in search of a reasonably priced and attractive gift for a bride's-to-be.
Oh, that definitely demands something soft and sweet.
Yes, well, you have your headphones on, so I'll just wait until you say start, you see, and then I'll do this lovely ad for something for the bride-to-be.
Well, I'll tell you what, with this one, being the music such as it is, you start, and I will bring in the soft string instruments under your voice. And I guarantee you won't tell the difference.
Could I hear a little bit of the music?
Certainly.
I think if you started it like they do on the wireless, you start a little bit, and then you look at me and you say, right, like that, and I whip in the ads, eh?
Okay.
I'll be guided by you, Graham.
Thank you very much.
I just want a nice little bit of bridesmaids music.
All right, look, I'll give you a sample.
Yeah.
There's a girl whose sunny smile is the beamiest what? A girl, her sparkling eyes are the greeniest what? This girl is in the
That's it. That's the little air check of Nicky and Graham. About 1955, would it have been?
I'd say so. Well before television, as Graham mentioned.
Listen,
and
remember, I used to listen. I'd feign illness to stay at home and listen to them. And I remember we were driving back from Adelaide, and we were on the border. It was lunchtime. We stopped under a tree, my mother and father and I, and he'd got the age. My father had the age, and he was looking through the classified, and there under death notices, passing of Nicky, much loved father and husband.
Oh, yeah.
And it was then that I realised, and I was very upset.
When was that? About September 1956, I think.
Was that when he passed away?
Yeah, I think before television even started.
Yes, it would have
because
been.
wasn't Nicky supposed to front the Red Cross telethon?
Yes, he was, and
Channel 9.
It was planned that when 9 opened, that he was going to do the children's program.
So he was.
As it turned out, I think Happy Hammond got the.
That's right, he did.
Got the job, but Nicky had the opportunity of doing the children's program. But there was also thoughts that would he have been able to adapt, like the great Jack Davey, who never adapted in a national sense from radio to television.
Yes.
How would Nicky have gone?
Well, Graham confided to me once he didn't think that Nicky would have made it on television, that he didn't have the right personality for television.
Yes.
But of course, you mentioned that Happy Hammond replaced Nicky on the Tarek show on Channel 9, and of course Happy Hammond also replaced Nicky at 3UZ.
Yes, that's right.
And Graham continued to work with Happy in the mornings.
Right, he did too, and then Tuppy came in, didn't he, and Nancy Lee. But that was just a little a snippet, I suppose, a bit self-indulgent of me and Phil, I suppose, to play it, but they were very cherished memories of those early days on UZ, weren't they?
Our thanks to Jamie Kelly from his archives for that material tonight. And you know, all they really did in the last 20 minutes was read ads. That's all it was, wasn't it? There wasn't entertainment as such.
No.
It was only one commercial after the other.
Now, for all the popularity of Nicky, and there was no one bigger in the 50s in Melbourne Radio, he never won a survey. The mornings always went to 3AW and 3DB with the serials. 3AW had non-stop serials from 9 o'clock until midday. 15-minute serials, Portia Faces Life, When a Girl Marries, Dr. Paul.
They also had John Masters with The Choice of the People.
And then at 4 o'clock it was the children's serials, Biggles, Superman, Hop Harrigan, Tarzan.
Yeah.
So AW was a very, very big station.
And DB had Dr. Paul, I think, an Office Wife, and Portia Faces Life.
But for sales and for revenue and for just good plain old flogging, no one could have got better than Nicky.
I wonder how young people would identify with the patter of Nicky and Graham. I wonder how young people would identify with the patter.
How would Simon Owens feel about Nicky, and could he make his assumption on what he heard tonight?
Simon is 27.
Judging by what I heard tonight, I honestly don't think I would have listened. But as Phil rightly pointed out, they were only reading ads. It wasn't entertainment as such. I was a very big fan of Graham Kennedy. When I was at school, I used to stay up and watch Graham Kennedy's news show. And Mum always told me off for that. I loved Graham's work. But judging from what I heard to that, no, wouldn't have listened. I'm sorry.
All right, fair enough. But then again, would you have listened to us?
Nah.
Well, thanks a lot. That's all. I'm going home.
I wonder if in 40 years' time people will play air checks of Bruce and Phil and say, what made them tick?
Nah, maybe Simon when he's hosting Remember When in 2020.
Champion of the Commonwealth. This is 3AW.
Australia 1, 2, 3.
With the Commonwealth Games broadcast live from September 11th for Toyota Camry, Xinax, MasterCard and Qantas, the spirit of Australia.
It's not Christmas yet, but it is time to organise your end-of-year function. Do something really different with a Jack Drover tour. Treat your guests to 5-star travel, a cruise up the Goulburn River, visiting some of our best wineries, capped off with a superb candlelit Christmas feast in the Strathbogie Ranges. Jack Drover's inexpensive half-day and evening tours make spectacular Christmas functions. To find out more, call them today on 9416-3500, 9416-3500.
You're with Bruce Mansfield and Philip Brady on 1278 3AW.
All right, we're coming up to 11 o'clock. I thought after 11 we might have a chat about people that you've admired in radio or television or politics in Melbourne's history. And we'll talk about the birthday that Melbourne celebrates today. She's
163 years old.
So we might look back on the past. What were the great moments in Melbourne's history? Do you remember, or do you fondly think of as far as the history when you weren't around? Maybe the Olympic Games, perhaps. What else, Phil?
Oh, well, going back, you might think about the last time the cable cars ran in Melbourne.
What were the great finals, the grand finals of Melbourne's history? What were the Melbourne Cup winners that you saw? What were the great cricket clashes that you saw in Melbourne's history as we celebrate the dear old girl's birthday tonight?
10 degrees in Melbourne, fine tomorrow with a top of 18. It's 11 o'clock. Good evening, I'm Ian Nichols with Southern Cross Network News. John Howard is staking his political future on his government's economic record, sending the country to the polls within 5 months. The Prime Minister says the main issue in the election campaign will be economic competence and his tax reform program, which includes the GST. Treasurer Peter Costello has told the ABC the coalition has a vision for Australia.
We've got a vision for a new tax system for a new century. And Labor, after 13 years in government, has come up with a lazy, lightweight and faint-hearted alternative which will do nothing for the country.
The opposition leader, Kim Beazley, has told Channel 9 he has a big task ahead with 27 seats needed to win.
Got to win them everywhere. I've got to be able to campaign everywhere. You don't win 27 seats in one state. But that's good because we've got a plan for a nation. We might as well take it to the whole nation.
Meantime, the One Nation Party will demand a crackdown on the taxing of multinational companies in return for passing the government's tax package if it wins the balance of power in the Senate. Party leader Pauline Hanson says the multinational companies are not paying their share of tax, leaving the PAYE taxpayers to foot the bill. Ms Hanson believes support for One Nation is higher than the 7% indicated in recent polls. A fifth bottlenose dolphin has been found dead in South Australian waters today. Scientists will perform an autopsy on the dolphin tomorrow, which was found by a fisherman at Rapid Bay, south of Adelaide. However, local experts believe the latest death is unlikely to be connected to the shooting of 2 dolphins in Adelaide's Port River 2 months ago. Overseas, US Secretary of State Madeleine Albright has pressed the Croatian President Franjo Tudjman to do more to embrace democracy and a multi-ethnic society. Albright told reporters in Zagreb, after a meeting with Mr. Tudjman, that America still has important concerns about the state of democracy in Croatia, particularly press freedom. Updating sport now, and Melbourne's dream run has continued. After ending last season on the bottom of the ladder, the Demons are now guaranteed of a home final, ending Richmond's finals hopes at the same time, with a stunning 76 points victory at the MCG today. Melbourne's coach, Neil Danaher, was very pleased with the side's performance and is now looking forward to playing Adelaide.
We knew that Richmond would come out fired up, and it was do or die for them, and to get away with a fairly comprehensive win like that shows that we're in pretty good form.
Sydney has secured a home final next weekend with a 12 points win over Collingwood at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Magpies coach Tony Shaw admits he doesn't deserve to keep his job, considering the club's win-loss ratio over the 3 years he's been at the helm. And earlier today, Carlton thrashed Port Adelaide 22 goals 12 to 12 goals 12 at Football Park. The Belgian Grand Prix has been stopped within seconds after a pile-up involving more than a dozen cars. The 2 championship